From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. The Republicans have had their say. They held their national convention in Cleveland this past week and nominated their presidential ticket. Now it's the Democrats' turn to do the same thing. Their convention begins Monday in Philadelphia. As we did last week with some GOP experts, we now welcome to Inside Politics two Democrats who will help preview their party's big week upcoming and what they think the election, or where they think the election stands right now as we approach the post-convention stage and the final three-month marathon to the November 8th election. Our guests are Mary Mancini, the chairperson of the Tennessee Democratic Party, and Carol Andrews, a Democratic political consultant who has managed, done research, and handled messaging for political campaigns on the local, state, and federal level. Ladies, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now, past is always prologue in politics. What do the Democrats have to do to make their convention this coming week more compelling and better than what the Republicans, what Donald Trump, what Mike Pence and the Republicans did at their convention, Mary?
Well, I mean, I think all we need to do is be hopeful and optimistic and talk about policy and the things that we're going to do to make the Americans' lives better. I think what we saw this past week, I mean, it was exhausting, really, just to be afraid for 4 straight nights. It was, nothing really positive about their candidate, and it was just attack on ours. So what we really need to do is just do what we normally do, which is to be open and to be optimistic and hopeful and really showcase the best of what this country is.
Carol, Donald Trump got to where he was this week by playing on a lot of anger that was in the country, making it effective for him to get voters to the polls. Mm-hmm. His convention, I think, in a lot of ways mirrored that, but isn't that the smart move for him given where he's gone so far? And certainly what he did, particularly his speech on the final night, certainly rallied those sort of forces because it was a very dark speech.
Yeah, there was nowhere else for him to go, and I don't think he did one thing to broaden his appeal, which, generally during convention you have primetime television, you have everyone covering you, and you want to do something to broaden your appeal. He did try to speak to LGBT community a little bit. He had Ivanka, who was, I think, the one primetime speaker who was good. She was very good. But
it's for a lot of things that Democrats are for. She was for universal
right.
daycare,
right.
things like that. I mean,
right.
Things
she
that
was.
Normally you wouldn't hear a Republican before.
Right. And but what we all know about that is their party never will vote for those things. So and she also spoke for equality rights, which is in their platform to be, and they just reaffirmed it this week, to be against. And so, they can't have it both ways. So I don't think he did one thing to broaden his appeal. Did he maybe solidify the base that he already had? Sure.
But Mary, is it fair to say, as far as the Democrats coming into their convention after what happened with Donald Trump's wife's speech on Monday night, that there's going to be maybe even more vetting done on all the speeches given at the Democratic convention to make sure something like that doesn't happen for them?
Well, I mean, I think it's just smart for any campaign to vet speeches. So, to have that much of a blunder on that big of a platform, in front of millions of people and, thousands at the convention, I mean, that was just political malpractice.
Well, Carol, Donald Trump comes out of the reality TV situation. Did some of the things you wonder, first of all, with how they handled the response to his wife's speech. It took them 36 hours to figure out a response.
Yeah.
But also for what happened with Ted Cruz, they knew that was coming. They knew what was going to be in the speech and what was not going to be in the speech.
Right.
Did he do that just to keep up some drama and suspense in the convention, knowing that long term those things are probably going to fade away between now and November?
I think so, and maybe to drum up some sympathy or something. Who knows what goes on in the mind of Donald Trump. I do think, he loves drama. There were several blunders, I think, in the campaign or in the convention. The Melania speech, they could have taken care of that post haste if they'd done it in a good way. Other than that, it carried the week, and then they had the cruise battle
actually fired up the convention.
It did fire up the convention, but was it in a good way? Was it in a bad way? Who knows? So you still had many Cruz loyalists out there, and then you still, Cruz was able to get out his message saying, well, yeah, I did sign that agreement back, way back when, but that was before he viciously attacked my wife and accused my father of killing JFK. So. These are things that you just don't want going on during your convention.
But Mary, how do the Democrats, what do they do, what does Hillary Clinton do to not make their convention boring? I mean, Donald Trump did have one great entrance the first night he was there on Monday night. That coming out of that white screen was really stunning. It's going to be something that people remember going forward. How do the Democrats keep their convention from being boring because it is about policy and there's no other storylines going on?
Here's the thing. The overarching theme of the two conventions is completely different, right? Mm-hmm. The Republicans are on the wrong side of history, and we are not, right? Just by the mere of who is in our audience, of who is actually who makes up the state and territory delegations, is much more interesting than what you saw at the GOP convention. There was much more diversity on stage than there was actually in the convention hall. They're on the wrong side of history on that. We're embracing diversity. We are the Big Tent party. We listen to everyone. We're not just fear mongering, and we're not just catering to a certain group of folks. The number of times that Donald Trump said they or those people last night in his own speech was just shocking to me. We're much more inclusive. We have so many more good stories to tell. That is why our convention is going to be inherently much more fun.
Carol, the Republicans may not have all come out united behind Donald Trump for November, but they all came out united behind the idea that they do not want to have Hillary Clinton be the next president. Mm-hmm. But did they overdo it on their responses? There were chants in the audience about lock her up. He was compared to Lucifer by one of the speakers.
Right. It was really the most horrible display I've seen in all of my years of politics. And the meanest, the nastiest, the ugliest. She was called many ugly names. She was, you saw signs of, Hillary for prison. Some people were calling for her to be shot. There were many ugly displays, and some people who aren't maybe stable are, can be incited by that. And I think that the Trump organization should have done something to stop that. If you remember back in 2000, whenever it was, it's a long time ago, 2008, I guess, when it was McCain versus Obama. And, when things got so ugly out on the campaign trail, and Senator McCain was so gracious and so nice, he was saying, no, don't do this, and don't call him these names, and don't say these things. So
let's take a break. We're talking with Carol Andrews, political consultant for the Democrats, and Mary Mancini, the state Democratic Party chair here in Tennessee. We're talking presidential politics, what happened for the Republicans this past week, what lies ahead for the Democrats this coming week. Stay with us. We'll be back on Inside Politics after these messages.